Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Members of the Board of Ed, do I have a motion to go back into open?
So moved.
So moved. Mr. Hart, second? Second. Mr. Nelson, all in favor?
Aye.
We are open, and we are in closed session for approximately about 60 minutes. And we're under reasons of student matter. Number 1 is a student matter. Number 2 is attorney-client privilege. And 5 was for, well, the third one was for number 5, the personnel employee matter. 3 and 4, 3 being real property and 4 being personnel employee matter, was not addressed, but that will be addressed in the second executive session. With that said, we'll go into the first public participation portion of the meeting tonight for agenda items only. If you have a comment on any agenda item, please come forward, state your name, address, and what item you'd like to speak on. You'll have 3 minutes for your comment.
Saul appears on 150 Berlin Street. Just as a matter of protocol, the website that listed the middle school as the meeting place. So if some people went there, that's...
Thank you, Saul.
I guess as part of the superintendent's report or committee report, will the number of students who haven't re-registered be discussed? And will the light pole issue be discussed?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item 10. These are in addition to the ones that were previously approved at the October meeting. Additional class. Thank you. Yes. The other one, I guess, was for the high school.
Some were high school, the others were middle school.
Thank you very much. Oh, just swing to the grant acceptance. Those are just standard, those aren't additional grants that have been applied for.
That's the same grant amount that was previously on an agenda as a grant application. So we applied and we have been awarded that, so now we are accepting. And so yes, the answer matches the same dollar.
Thank you very much.
Chevrolet Roosevelt Park. Ladies and gentlemen, audience, viewing audience, members of the board, dignitaries, Alina is Page 9, item 16, stipulation of settlement. What, pray tell, is that?
It's a settlement agreement with the district, with the board, with respect to a confidential student matter.
Is that the students?
Yes, for a confidential student matter.
How many students have not signed up?
I'm going to report it to the superintendent's report. I will give it. Jacob, I will have a report ready during the superintendent's report, so everyone can.
Are you folks going to get your microphones? Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing there's no one else, we'll close the first public participation portion of the evening tonight. And now we'll go on to the committee reports. Does anyone have a committee report they'd like to speak on? Mr. Horns, our facilities chair.
Not this past Monday, the previous Monday, the committee met to go over the report that we received from I was getting it, Reliable. They're based out of Texas. We got the report that particular Monday. We met that night. I'm not going to go through the whole report. I'm going to go to their comments that they put down there on the number of poles that have cracks in it. Just so everybody knows, there were 2 poles taken down on Friday. The one pole, number 8, had a 21-inch crack in it. In their mind, it might be to where the overlap might have been, where it started. And number 9 had also at least a 3-inch crack in it, so they came down in their report saying they should come down immediately. In their report, they were saying that there were 10 poles that they have found cracks in it. There's only 15 poles left that were left. That leaves 5. We talked to them about remediating these particular poles. They gave us a price, $195,000 to make these, $195,000, and that is not including the crane to do the work. The committee at that time said that is a lot of money to put into poles that have no guarantee that they would last anything more than a month, 2 months, 6 months, or whatever it might be. In their report, I'm going to read what it says. Based on the French and Perillo Associates report and our own findings, we believe that all remaining poles are at or near the end of their safe, useful life, and we recommend replacement. Bottom line, they can come in and they can do these other, I guess 13 poles, if you want to call it, for $195,000 plus the rental of the crane. I think it's, the committee thought that is way too much to be spending on that, when in fact we can put this money at some time to replace these poles. So the recommendation of the committee is to take all remaining poles down. And I'm not sure at this time, I mean, we can take some questions. I'm not sure how we should do this, or should we wait for the end? It's kind of moot point if we wait for the end, Mr. President. So I'm not sure if we want to have a dialogue or not. It's up to you.
Sure, if there are any public questions or comments now, just solely on this issue, please.
Yeah, just solely on this. And the other question would be is that, or the other statement would be is that I'm also going to bring up tonight about having rental of portable lights, so our football team, our soccer team, our football teams, which includes the band, okay, the band doesn't have any more competitions at night, but they have to practice, and I'm going to get into that. That we rent lights, that they all can have their practices when they needed it, and have their games when are already scheduled. That would be 2 different issues that I'll bring up later for a vote.
And Mr. Arms, we'll bring those up as standalone items for Resolution 24 and 25, which are not on the agenda, but when it comes to that point in the agenda, we will make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Those 2 issues.
So does anybody, I mean, that was just kind of a brief overview of it, telling you exactly what it is. They're all coming down because they're all unsafe. It's as simple as that when it comes down to the lights itself. So if there are any questions on what we're going to do or how we're going to do it, I'll try to answer them as best I possibly can if you have any.
Hi, Karen Donnelly, 345 East Lincoln Ave. So all the lights are going to come down. You're going to rent lights for all practices and whatnot. What is the permanent solution?
Oh, okay. I can get into that. I mean, because that's our next plan.
That's my question.
Well, the next question, we have to, first of all, we have to go out and find out what, we have to get quotes of what they would need to be replaced. We had 25 poles up. We don't need 25 anymore with the new technology of the lighting. we have had some people tell us we can use anywhere between 15 and 18 poles.
I understand that. So the permanent solution is to actually replace the lights based on efficiency. Is that correct? They will be replaced at some point?
Well, let me get into it.
Okay.
At some time, once we get this price, then we have to try to go out there and get as much money in grants and gifts and whatever we need to get. Then, and hopefully this will be next November, okay, we have to put that extra money that we need that we don't get from grants out to the public to approve. Okay, that's when we get the lights, when the public approves the money we need. Okay, if I put out there on a bond referendum that we need $350,000, just using the numbers, okay, just using the number, we, the people, have to approve that $350,000.
I understand.
Okay, so yes, we're going to look into somebody suggested telephone poles. There is a complex that uses telephone poles. Might be cheaper than what putting up these metal poles. These are things we have to do. I can't tell you today they're going to be done next year. It won't happen. I'm going to tell you it won't happen until at least 2018.
How much does it cost to rent the lights?
Right now we have a quote for about $12,000 for the football field. I'm saying about $20,000
Per year?
per season for 3 months. Okay.
And Mrs. Donnelly, too, do we want to replace them? Yeah, we would love to replace them, but like Mr. Harms was stating, looking for avenues for money and to raise. And Mr. Garrido is being very proactive and meeting with freeholders in the very near future as well in Union County. And we've looked at other things too, as far as the open space, Green Acres funding, Community Development Fund. And also there's another one else like preservation, but these are things, some of these funds need to be in conjunction with the town as well, and working with the municipality to help out our children would be wonderful. So yeah, it's a process, but we're looking at for all avenues, but to get them back up, to get them going, that would be great, and state of the art, because they are like 35 years old. And I sat in on that facilities meeting with Mr. Harms and Mr. Balaban, Mr. Garrido, and Mrs. Versio the other day, and we talked to Mr. Wes Oliphant from Reliable in Texas, and he called us up and he said, this problem with this, it's called weathered steel. And he goes, this issue has been popping up over the past 15 years because these have been put in the 60s and the 70s, and they were thought that, to be indestructible, and now they're coming up with these, they're faulty. And he said, like Mr. Harm said, we could remediate for north of $200,000, but basically they manufacture these collars to put over those cones. But you're right, Mr.
No,
Balaban.
I understand.
There's no guarantee.
My one concern was what the long-term projection is, what the end result, what you guys want is the end result, number one. And number two, that we don't lose football practices, soccer under the lights, marching band practice, things like that.
I guess this is one of our past several months. I said that the first time, that we would do everything we can not to have that happen, that we wouldn't have, we would not have, okay,
Awesome.
our children practice, because that's what they deserve.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Joseph Miller Jr., 625 Linden. Thanks, Mr. Harms. I know we've had some conversations. I just had a conversation with the quarterback club earlier this evening, and they're a little in the dark. And maybe tonight it'll all come out, and someone's going to try to walk across the hallway to come and join and hear what's going on. So I'm just curious if maybe Mr. Miller can put an ad hoc committee together to help you folks out for the near future, within the next week, month, or years. So I look at some of the folks in the room and seeing how many people were here that saw before the lights. I hate to see us go back on the lights. I think it's going to be a hard sell to whatever, if it costs $100,000 or $900,000 to put on a referendum. I know there's a lot of things happening to try to get some money. I hear this. So my suggestion is, there's a lot of committees. This committee can probably help you get this sold. Like I said, I'm saying this is not going to be easy, and you need the buy-in of other committees, soccer, baseball, football, quarterback club to help sell it. And to be able to push the votes to get through. I know I still have those signs in my garage past the budget. You know,
Past the referendum, right?
and maybe that's going to be. And I've seen a lot of signs go up on people's houses the last couple of weeks. I think with no lights, it's like more tumbleweed just going through the Borough Russell Park. And I remember how the fields were. They looked before the Green Acres. They were horrible. They did a nice job and so on and so forth with the lights. My suggestion, and just one last thing is, I know you're committed to take down the rest with the next couple of days or hours or weeks. Is there one slight possibility of holding off?
No.
Okay.
Let me just make one statement here.
Yeah.
I've been in town, I've been in this community for 43 years. I was here when that facility went up. I was here when the lights went up. I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. My children played on it, and my grandchildren are going to play on it with lights. What I'm really having a hard time understanding, and I need help understanding it, when we come up here and we talk about how the town is going to become tumbleweeds. I'm not sure we should be speaking like that. The one thing we don't talk about is the safety of our children, our community members, or anybody else that comes to our town to go on that field. We're worrying about one light staying up, how many lights staying up. But nobody talks about the safety of what actually is out there. I have a report here, okay, that says they should come down. They meet, or they are at their end, or near their safe. The word safe. Nobody using it, I am. My whole sole purpose is to take them down for the safety of our children. I'm not sure that I want to write anything or commit to somebody and say, I'm sorry, we didn't do what this letter says because I wanted to have one more football game or one more soccer
I concur, Mr. Arms, but
okay.
If you would have gotten maybe a committee together and shared this within the last couple of days to a week, you could have spread it a little more.
Mr. Sigmund, we just found this out last Monday. It was a holiday weekend. People were on vacation. I'm not sure where we get a committee together to tell me, okay, reading this thing here, to take all our lights down. I'm not sure where you're going.
If you're sincere about it,
okay,
were you at the field today with the wind? How imminent is this concern? That's my question.
Well, my imminent concern, we took two down on Friday because I was very concerned about the 21-inch split in it, okay, and the 3-inch split in it, that at any time could have come down. That is my concern.
Okay.
I wanted to take the rest of them down, but we can't because we have to get the full board okay to take them down. Okay? That's where I am.
Okay.
And I apologize if I seem to be a little upset.
No. Listen,
it's safety of our
this is
children.
good, where I think everybody, so you're hoping tonight it'll be clear as a bell.
To start tomorrow morning, take the remainder of them down, because we want to get lights because we have a game Friday night,
Right.
but it's away.
No.
But we have a game and we have other kids that have to practice.
So my game was tonight that you're going to give out as much information to everybody tonight, and then it'll be clear as a bell why and how come they're going to be coming down in the next couple of
That's
days.
what we're doing right now, correct. And we've also spoken to the stakeholders in this, the Pop Warner, also the football, okay? We also talked to the AD to go over these things here. Now, we didn't talk to the band because the band, we have already promised the band we would get them there, so there was no concern for us to say that they weren't going to get them because that's part of the football actually. Okay, yeah.
I appreciate your dedication to taking them down. I hear you loud and clear that they need to come down. They maybe didn't need to come down. The imminent ones came down on Friday, and you answered my question. Other people, can we wait till, I'll be asking, someone asked me, can we wait till after New Providence came? I hear it loud and clear. No, that's, I want to be direct, clear. Okay.
And I'm being direct to you, no.
So if 50 people asked me in the last couple of weeks,
No.
I'm delivering a message. You can't wait. Thank you.
And Mr. Sigmund, first of all, that ad hoc committee, that's a very good idea to go on our community support.
It'll help you.
Yep.
If you need to get the people to try to pass this. If it's 499,000 or 999,000, or let's say it's, hopefully it's $10.
Right. No.
You need these groups. Every organization will help. And I didn't mean it to say the tumbleweed, but it'll be, to me, I'm taking a little, it's going to be sad that I've had personally, a lot of people in this room have good times under the lights. So,
Like I said, I've been here since.
so you're going to give a great report tonight. Thank you.
This is the report we're
Okay.
getting. This is it.
Thanks,
We're coming
Mr.
down.
Owens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes.
Good evening, Kathleen Murphy Butler, 614 Myrtle Avenue. Questions and comments? Safety and security, public interest, one of my notes right here, Mr. Owens. So I know we're
Thank
good.
you.
We're
Thank
good
you.
for lights, September,
Yes.
October, and November.
Yes.
It's very dark out there. I'm walking in the morning, at night. What is our security plan as far as lighting up a little bit of the compound? From the top of Colfax down here?
We haven't done that in the past.
Well, at night there's other lights and
Yeah,
things, but, okay.
No, they're not coming down,
No,
the
they're
other
not coming
lights.
down. So how about this, if there is, God forbid, an emergency in town, and I know we have that flip of the switch where we can light up the whole place. Now we're not gonna have that accessibility, because I know in baseball, we do turn the lights off after baseball. So what is our plan as far as if we had to, God forbid, an emergency, or they had to get in that field in the middle of the winter, or there's something going on in
Our police department has 3 of them. They have 3. We also can go to the county, which I've asked already. The county says if you need something, an emergency or whatever, we try to get to the county now. I'm not sure the communication got back and forth to each other about that, but we can use them. I've already talked to the mayor.
And the facilities committee will make sure that all the lights that are on the buildings now are in work,
The
as
maintenance-
far as the attached spot lights.
We will have them checked out, maintenance will check it out.
The timetable of the lights, I know you said you'd like to do that immediately, I understand that. Lights for September, October, and November, the band and the football can go kind of hand in hand, but the band is out there 2 nights a week from 6 to 9. I know football is out there after school practice.
Sure.
So we'll be assured that they, I know soccer's out there
There
right now.
will be 2 lights. Here is my plan on that particular. We need 10 up at the football. This is what our AD has checked around the other football ADs, or the ADs, not football ADs, the ADs of other schools that use the lights. They need 10 up there. The town has been gracious enough to let the school use 2 of theirs out of their 3. In case there's an emergency, they're going to have to pull them out, of course. Hopefully it wouldn't be another football game. We only have 3 home games this year, okay? Possibly the 4th if we make it in the playoffs. The soccer field, we want to put 4 towers on. 2 of the towers will be used for the band, facing the band. Okay, so it'll be on the back, like on the soccer area, facing to your area over in there. And then the other 2 will be used for that particular, and 2 up at the Colfax field up there. On Saturday night when the band isn't practicing, because I don't think they practice on Saturday and Sunday, right? So the soccer then would just kind of turn 180 and have for their night games on Saturday night, they can use it on their fields. Or Friday night if they need it down there too, because the band doesn't practice because they would be with the high.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's it.
Right, okay.
So the 15 that are left out there, is it just a week?
If I'm not mistaken, they can take down 3 a day, there's 13 left. I'm gonna say no later unless it starts pouring and there's heavy winds where they can't get up there type thing. By next Monday, they should all be down. Okay, because they can only do 3 a day.
And we don't have a home game for a few weeks, I know.
No, next Friday is, I think it's the
Or in the
22nd or something like that. So yeah, our home game, they'll be all gone. Our portables hopefully will be put in place and we should be good to go. This has not been an easy thing, and I'll speak for myself. I want lights up. I think it's great. Friday night football, it's great. Okay, I don't want to see my town become a tumbleweed. I've been here long enough. I have a lot of stake in this town. So again, I will personally do everything possible to get lights back up. And I say, but I can't promise because.
I don't want any lights going down in anybody.
You know what I mean? So I will do everything in my power to get lights back up in here, and I will go out and go door to door to sell it.
Awesome, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Matthew Langer, 245 of the applicant. Just a question about the process. So to replace the lights, a new bond referendum has to be written and put on the ballot in November of 2017, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any reason it couldn't happen in the primary election in June?
We missed the deadline on that.
I see.
However, excuse me for interrupting, Mr. Langen, but however, I mean, we could do a special election referendum as well. That is maybe after the November election. So that's an option as well.
Well, that's a true statement, and I can appreciate the aggressiveness on Mr. Miller. My two issues I have. I want to make sure that we go out to every possible area that we can get money so the taxpayers don't have to pick up the bulk of the tab. Simple, okay? The other, it's a cost for that also. I don't know what that cost is. It used to cost us $12,000 when we used to do it in April, okay? If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Garcia, it was, and I'll use this number and I could be way off, like $40,000 because you're doing it alone, not putting it up with all the other communities in Union County, paying for it, plus you have to put it in Spanish and in English. So it could be very expensive. But there is a possibility if we got all our ducks in a row and it wasn't that much money, I'd be more than happy to put it on so we get it in 2017.
Right. So second question, what's the total cost of renting light poles until, say, spring of 2018?
Well, right now we're looking at renting for September, October, and November. September 15th through November 15th is when the seasons for all the sports outside. It would roughly, I'm going to say roughly, it could be 18, could be 19, could be 22, and roughly around $20,000 for them 3 months for all the lights that we need. So 20,000, 40,000, 60,000 if it goes into the third year. Well, 20, 43, 3 times 20 is 60. So with that said, it's still a lot less than $195,000 plus the crane rental.
Well, certainly, but I was comparing it against was the cost of having an election earlier rather than waiting until November.
Understand, like I said, more importantly, and that's why I didn't say the cost of it until the second, we have to make sure that we have all the areas that we can get any money from. Any state, whatever, you know, some of these places take a long time to come
Right,
back.
so to that end, do those monies go towards the rental or do they go towards replacement?
No, any money we get will go towards a replacement. The rental, it doesn't go to it.
Okay, so how is the rental?
That is, we have to find money somewhere.
Thank you, Mr. Langen.
So it appears from 150 Berwyn Street. Does anyone know the estimated cost to actually remove these lights? Is there a cost?
Roughly, I'm going to say 30,000
It's just 30,000 to remove.
to remove them and cut them up. Yes, it cost us. Here's the way I figured it. It cost us $4,000 a day. So what was it last time? They took down 3 poles for $4,000. When I looked at it, it was $28,000 to take all the remaining poles down. This was several months ago. We added some money to it because we could not have one of our maintenance people help torch it while they take it down. He has to cut up what we take down because we wanted whatever was taken down that day taken away. So we have to pay the extra for a torch man to come in and cut the bottoms. That's why I say roughly about 30,000.
So in total, would it be around 35,000 for everything, including the ones that have already been taken down? I'm trying to get the cost of taking all those lights down. Would it be about 35, 30?
No, it would be more than that. So,
Okay.
I think we got reimbursed by our insurance company.
Will we get reimbursed?
the original 3 that came down and 3 more came down. And I know everybody knows one came down. What we had to take down and pay for was the wind helped us with the first one. The ones we had to pay for, okay, we took down 6 poles.
Correct.
Okay, we had to pay for them 6 poles coming down. So it roughly cost us $4,000 for each 3 poles.
So 8,000.
Okay, 8,000 plus 30, so 38,000 for all of them coming down.
Because insurance only covered the one that fell.
That's correct,
So right off the bat, it's $40,000.
roughly.
Okay. And then I guess my other question was, and you stated that it will be, the rest will be taken down by Monday. Am I
Yes.
estimating?
Yes.
Whether
Force major.
Don't hold it till Monday, and then
Yes.
you can, come into,
Now, I have a question, because it's up for a vote.
this,
Yes.
well, yeah,
So let's say, for whatever reason, it's a 4-4 split, and the vote does not go through to take it down. What happens then?
I'm taking it down myself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Holmes. With regard to, I guess, having the community, other options, of course, GoFundMe, those kind of online sites. And I was just doing some basic mathematics. If every man, woman, and child in town were to pitch in, and they cost about $500,000, every person would have to donate about $40. So a family of 3 would donate about $120. If they cost $1 million, it'd be about $77 per person. If they were on the low end of the 900,000, it's about $70. So just everyone should keep that in mind, that every person in your household will have to pay that amount if they were to do it through GoFundMe or some kind of assistance. Now, my other question was, has anyone, it's probably not, but it doesn't hurt to ask, the lights that are on now, has anyone reviewed that policy to see if there is a lifetime policy, warranty, since they were meant to last forever?
No, they weren't. They were, as this gentleman from Texas says, with the experience that he's had over his years, the past 15 years, as Mr. Miller said, their life expectancy is just what they are. As he says in here, they're at or near the end of their safe life thing, because this was back in the late 70s, early 80s when they put the tubular up with the cone type on there, and that's what's happening right now with them. There is no warranty.
Okay. Just so.
And the gentleman was very upfront with us, because he was saying, look, we don't want to turn away business, but I'm just telling you the facts that, they were recommending removal because he said in the 70s, but I believe it was in 91 in the Fort Worth water park, a pole went down, killed 2 people. So,
that's the worst case. The worst case.
Exactly.
I mean, literally, that's horrible.
In a miserable.
Yeah. And just a human life.
Well, to hear would be, to me, would be just as bad.
Right. So if we follow through and there's a special election and everything is done and it fails, is there a time frame? In other words, I know for municipality there's some kind of, could you vote on it every year? Every 6 months? Every 3 months? For a referendum?
We did get.
We do not know, we'll have to check that out. So.
Yeah. We did it with the school. When we did the.
Oh, that's right.
We did it with the school.
It failed.
We did it 1 year, we did it the following year.
So the following. And I guess it go every year until we passed.
Well, here's the only, not that I'm the expert here, the only thing I can say is that when you raise anything over 2%, you gotta go to referendum for it anyhow. So what would be the difference? I have to do this year or I do next year?
Okay.
All I know is that if it's not passed in November of 2017, 2018, 2019, I cannot do anything, or this board cannot do anything to purchase lights.
Right. Now, the way estimates work, the number that was tallied by the presenter at that meeting was between 900 and $1.2 million, and that was just, I guess, a guesstimate, for lack of a better word. I presume when the board goes out for an estimate, is there a time frame? So in other words, will the board be going out for an estimate next week? Presenting that to the public and saying we'll wait till November of next year? Will that estimate still be good? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know what you're saying. And so to answer that question is kind of hard, because I'm not sure we even talked about going on to the next step. My thing is right now I have to, what I said, at hand, I have to take care of. Absolutely, I'm not going to wait till November of next year. We got to start now. I can't say that we're going to start next week, or the week after school is just starting. So it will be awful hard for the next couple of weeks. But I will tell you that we will start in October, okay, starting to get somebody coming in here, or, you know, tell me how many. I need to know how many. I need to know what, if it's $50,000 a poll,
20
times, well, times 15. You come up with $500,000, correct?
About, yeah.
Okay,
3/4.
but if I go with telephone polls, and
Gotcha.
because there is a community that has that,
Oh, okay.
okay, from my understanding, I forget who told me, but we're gonna check that also. So that might even bring it down cheaper. So before we go and do anything and tell the public what we might do and not do, let's do baby steps first with it and then push forward with it. Not saying you can't start looking for money, no matter what, okay? But let's take baby steps to make sure we're doing the right thing so we don't have the same thing. Okay, so 50 years from now, 60 years from now, I'll be around.
And my last two comments are, at the September 1st mayor and council meeting, this was touched upon. And I guess there was a discussion of the police the council speaking with the police to, of course, unless it's needed for something else, that they would be willing to cooperate with donating lights as needed, mind that they're not needed for something else.
Correct.
I know that you can't count on that.
We have them now.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Oh, we have them. I'm sorry, and that's what I said before, that
Okay.
that I said that the town was gracious enough to lend us 2 of them,
Okay.
and they pull them back if
Oh, that's
there's an
right.
emergency.
During the-
Okay, but we do have 2 of them now.
And the other one is, since this seems to be a very important issue for some residents, perhaps the board could consider just a special meeting, not even maybe not a meeting, but like a town hall kind of thing, because maybe someone can come up with an idea, or someone who knows a connection, or someone can do this, or maybe more people can hear everything at once as opposed to you repeating it over and over and over and over.
Well,
Just a suggestion.
good suggestion for later on.
Later on, maybe even at
Here's
the
what it
beginning of
is.
the year.
I'm not gonna have a town meeting tomorrow morning,
No.
okay, because they're coming down tomorrow.
Correct.
Okay, if I get the approval. Okay, so that's a moot point to talk about anything that's coming down. What
Maybe
we
at
can
the
do
end of the
is,
season.
what we
So
can do
people see
is,
what it's like.
is that, okay, as Mr. Cigarella said, that we can have these people come and start coming up with some ideas, okay, and we can start from there.
But open it up to like the,
Sure, sure.
maybe after the season.
Whatever, yeah.
So you can see, like, this is what it's like without the lights, folks. And then people can go, oh, maybe it's bearable. Maybe they'll realize that it is bearable.
Whatever, but, and we can, good suggestion, we can follow up on that.
Thank you.
The other, okay. Okay, sure.
And I was just, I know the poles are bad, but the lights at the top, are they bad too, or can we hold on to the lights?
There's no reason to hold on, we can't use them, they're outdated. No, no,
The telephone pole?
no. It would, you know how much it would cost us to put them on there and then we'd have to put 25 back up again.
And the poles are all sleeved, if I'm not mistaken, correct? So the base of them as well, underneath those sleeves are.
They're all hollow. They're all hollow. That's what's the problem.
But we can't save any light bulbs or lights.
No, we can't use them in the house. Little bright.
I know, but we can hold on to
Sorry about that. The only thing, Mr. President, is I would maybe ask Ms. Gershio to send just a kind of a quick note to the mayor to let them know what we actually have done tonight, stating if it all passes, that we are taking the lights down for safety. So if anybody calls him, he'll know that every light's coming down and hopefully they'll be done by Monday or Tuesday of next week.
Okay, sounds good, Mr. Holmes.
Mr. Holmes, also, I had planned to put out a letter on the website with exactly what's being discussed here tonight, and also send out an email blast to all the parents, so everyone is aware of the situation for this point.
Okay, just another point is that we've spoken, or I have spoken to the stakeholders in this, and said I didn't speak to the band, personally speak to the band, but they're part of our football, so there was no reason. I knew what we were going to do with the band. It was just the other recreational teams that we needed to talk to let them know that these lights are coming down. There will be no stopping of practices at night, because anything that comes down during the day is taken away that day. the machine, the crane, is moved off to the side, so there's no reason not to have practices for the children at nights. Unless I have any questions from the board, I'm done yapping.
Mr. Holmes, we got a short cord here. So anyhow, thank you very much for your
I don't think it's on, Mr. Chair.
That's all.
Thank you for your background on this topic and the public's questions, which were excellent. They raised a couple of questions in my mind, so I'm just going to read through them real quick.
Sure.
Why do we have to have the vote on the, so maybe I missed that part, so I understand on the replacement because that's an expenditure above and beyond, but generally that $20,000 is operational. So why the vote on the removal as opposed to just the removal?
If I could respond to that question, it's not that we have to one way or another, legally speaking. We just felt that because it was such a public issue and that it went through committee and it's been addressed by bringing outside vendors into the district and presenting the issue at meetings, that it would be beneficial to kind of have an official sort of end to the process saying, this is how the board voted with respect to, one, the removal of the remainder of the lights that were an immediate security concern, meaning that they've already come down, and then two, with respect to going forward on the rental of the equipment going forward.
Okay, because I just want to make sure that we're not setting a precedent in our own board here, because there's a lot of times that operational practices of the district go through the superintendent, the business administrator, maybe a committee, maybe not a committee, but never even come to the board for a vote. To me, this is no different than if the boiler went at one of the schools, we would be spending that $250,000 to remediate that issue immediately without a question. So that's where I'm concerned is bringing it to the board for a vote.
Very valid point, and absolutely something that can be considered by the board this evening as to whether or not they want to actually have the vote. The only difference that I would point out is that when you bring up the boiler, I would absolutely put that into the category of the light poles that have already come down.
Yeah.
Slight difference with respect to those that remain. That's the only difference that I would draw.
Okay. So then, thank you for that answer. So I don't know if you want to consider it. I don't know what the harm either way of voting on. I think we're, I don't know where the board stands with that. I think there's no resistance for safety, right? So I just want to make sure that we're not setting a precedent going forward.
I question it, and again, our attorney answered it the same way as she did now, due to the public being heavily involved with it, having several discussions over these past several months, that it might be good, and I do not want to set a precedent, okay, going forward, that if we have to get the approval from the board. Every time we turn around, we have to do something. That's not going to happen.
Right. And
this is only because it's been such a
so if it was
publicized.
And I think it's great that the conversation is occurring, right? I just question from the procedural format.
It's a very valid question, and Mr. Harms is correct. We had the exact same conversation too, where the response was really just might be an idea for best practice in terms of closing the loop, but not something you're required to do.
It's up to the board. If we don't want to take the vote on it, we don't take the vote on it. It's just that, Mr. President, I guess we don't have to waste our time. We're talking about it now. I mean, what? Less taking a vote than be talking about it.
So in lieu of taking a vote, does anyone have an objection to the removal of the polls? So then we'll move forward and remove the polls.
Okay, and also the number of lights to light
Can I
up.
finish asking?
Oh,
That's my question on this one. Well, part two.
Okay, I was going to say, let's go to part two.
All right. So help me understand again, Mr. Harms. And I say that as chair of the committee, right? So I know it was a committee effort. Why is the recommendation only to rent the lights September, October, and November as the, leaving open the door that they won't be rented for the entire school year, right? as opposed to committing it. Obviously, there's no outdoor activities in the winter months, but committing to the entire school year having lighting. And, you know, the challenge is as the AD begins to make spring schedules here in the next couple of months, we're going to have to work with the other towns to have, if there's any night games of any sorts. And generally, when we look at our educational programs, we try to do them on a school year basis. So I was just trying to understand where the committee was with Brendan for that first 3 months as opposed to the entire school year, recognizing there was no outdoor sports in January.
There's no, nothing that the committee has ever thought about of not, at some point, again, if we needed to. I'm not sure, because I'm not sure you can play baseball or softball with that particular lights, but I'm not going to say you can't. Nothing was ever mentioned that we wouldn't at a later time if we had to. When we did talk to the previous AD, said that there were no night games for the softball or baseball. That was his first comment to us. Now that could change now since we have a new athletic director / VP. That could change. I have no problem with bringing it back just to the committee and saying, okay, we need lights, let's get lights. We have to do track, we have to do whatever it might be. Okay, I don't have a problem. We're just looking at this season right now. Okay, that is before us. Just like when we put in for the use of fields. It's, you know, it's that time, that particular season, they put in for the fields, so we can adjust at any time. If you want to just make sure that we use that as that, this is not just saying we will only rent lights for this particular 3 months, that we will look into spring if we need to, we can do that also. I don't have a problem whatsoever with that.
We don't even know if those lights are suitable for baseball, whether it's high school, recreational, middle school.
Correct.
Plays there too, right?
Middle school, yes. Well,
The girls don't.
The girls don't, right. We can check it out. Okay, Mr. I mean, like I said, we were looking at now what we needed for the football, because that's what, you know, for kicks and stuff. Soccer's all ground type thing. The ball doesn't go as high as the football. So we can always look at that. We can ask the AD to check and see if that's, and we have that all at our fingertips later on.
And then, these are the gas.
This is diesel, yes.
So, is there any precautions that we have to do environmentally and also safety? The diesel, how are they refilled? Is that part of the leasing agreement?
We could do one or two things with the leasing. With the leasing, we're going to buy the insurance. The insurance covers, I think it's $100 a month. From what I was told, $100 a month for everything. The bulbs are very expensive, so you leave them up. The only two that come down are the police departments. They requested that they let us use them, that we put them inside all the time, which I don't have a problem with that. We can have them come to I don't know what the cost is. We can have them come and fuel each week, or we can have Cliff go, as we do now, to the municipality. We fill whatever we need over there, we fill them, and we just charge them through the...
So you would tow the tent?
No.
I guess what I'm getting at is I would be hesitant to see it being filled on the field by our personnel. If
Okay.
liability could be shifted to the vendor, you know, that's, you know, if there's ever has to be remediation.
It's up to them?
From an environmental perspective, the liability is just shifted there.
We can check out with that price there, so I don't think it's gonna be that much for them to come and do it. It's only gonna be the person coming out plus the fuel. Diesel is expensive as it used to be. So, good point. We can check that, especially if we just have.
And there are also local fuel services that will come with a truck in.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So, yeah.
We can check that out to find that out.
As opposed to us trying to fill it up with our lawnmower.
I was just trying to save a little bit of money, but that could cost us. Oh, it could cost us a little bit more if we spill. Sure.
And the final one I had was, I think Mrs. brought there, just around the lights, but more around the scrapping of the metal. Is there an aftermarket for that steel? From a recycling perspective, what is taking place of that? Or is that part of that's been netted out of the cost of the takedown?
Mr. Gerton, whenever we take down anything involving metal, we always do look to scrap and see if we can recoup some money. We did so with the previous removal of the poles, so we will continue doing that, and whatever funds come in from scrapping that metal will offset the cost of this whole project. It will go directly back into that line item.
And so we saw that with the first 7 poles?
Yes.
Do we know how much that was?
I don't have that now.
Would you say it's $100 a pole or $800 a pole or $1,000?
It's probably closer to one. But I don't have that. I'll find that out for you.
Final question is we're talking about 20,000 today, potentially 40,000 tactical light for the spring. Where do we suggest we're going to find that in a budget? That the school year is just starting out. I know there's no expenditures against it other than 3 months in the summer, 2 months in the summer against the budget. Where do we think we're going to be able to find that $40,000 from?
We'll have to go through the thousands of line items in the budget and take a little from each to come up with the 20,000.
So, just to clarify, so we're not going to take this out of capital reserve, rather we're going to take it out of the operational?
We would not be allowed to take this out of capital reserve, not for light poles. Capital reserve is to be used only on building structural needs that have been identified in our long-range facility plan as a need for the district.
You have to identify it in there? So if we identify...
The other, thank you for questioning, because I should continue on and say that it can come out of capital reserve, but we would have to go through the official referendum process and ask the public for permission to do that.
But, no, you're
No,
right.
in
You're
a
right.
future election.
So we could net out the bond referendum against what we've set aside in the past in capital reserve for new bonds.
Yes, we could do that possibly in a future referendum.
Okay, thank you.
And I thank you, Mr. Harms, for your report. Thank you, Mr. Burton, for your input. And also, Mr. Harms, I just want to commend you for all the research you've been doing and the hard work you've been part of doing just because of the safety situation. And you and I were both at different ends at one point. But at the end we came to an agreement, as the whole board did, and we're moving forward for the safety of the children and the betterment of Roselle Park as well. And just to clarify before we go into the superintendent's report, so there will be no vote for the removal of the poles and or the rental of portable lights for the fields. It is not necessary to do.
That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Long. And now we're on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Garrido.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Just one final comment. I know we've been killing this light pole situation, but I really appreciate the lively discussion. It shows that whether we're on one side or another, and we really care what's going on here. But I do have to commend Mr. Harms and the facility committee for making this decision. It's not easy, but definitely safety was the #1 concern, and we really appreciate that. Mr. Signorella, I'd be more than happy to lead that committee, and I agree with you, sometimes 8, 10 heads, can have definitely an impact and have some ideas that one person does not have. So once we're ready for that committee, I'll be more than happy to sit in and open it up to the public. A very brief superintendent's report tonight. I reported at the last meeting most of the activities in August. I certainly have a very little to report to you right now. The staff reported back today, this morning. We had a day filled with meetings. I did my welcome back speech to the staff. I think it was a very productive speech and morning. And then the principals, obviously, there were many building meetings. Tomorrow is the day of professional development for all of our staff. And then, of course, the big day comes on Thursday when we welcome back our students. And don't forget, please, Thursday and Friday, they're one-session days. Both days, we start full day on Monday. In terms of the re-registration, I reported to you at the last meeting that we had over 400 students that were not re-registered at the time. As of 2 p.m. today, we're down to 88 students now re-registered. And that's as of 2. Today was a very heavy day in terms of re-registration. We have one more day tomorrow that we're hoping we can re-register another 20 students or so. We have a plan in place for the first day of school for those students that did not re-register. We are going to use some of our staff that are not directly involved with the students to have a holding station, and we're going to start making phone calls to the parents. But I know the integrity of the re-registration was questioned, and I can assure you that we will re-register every single student in the district. So we're down to 88 as of 2 p.m. This afternoon. And I'll have a full report on the enrollment at the next board meeting from June to now, and so you can see the difference between re-registration, our end of the year, and the new year count. So, yes, Mr. Bowles.
At the last meeting, you indicated that 6 students said that they moved out of town.
Right.
Any further?
No, I haven't checked on any other mailings that came back, but I believe those are the 6 that we received after the letter went out. Okay? And that's basically the superintendent's report for tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Brito. And now we're on to the policy portion of our meeting tonight, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items 1 through 5. And these are all district policies. One being the adoption of communication with the public. Number 2 is principal evaluation. Number 3 is the superintendent revised district policy. And 4 is the second reading of the operation and maintenance of the plan revised district policy. And number 5 is the second reading, again, of the transportation routes and services. Do I have a motion? That's Mr. Bowman. Second?
Second.
That would be Mr. Cancino. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing there's none, roll call please, Madam Secretary.
Vice President Harms? Mr. Balaban?
Yes.
Mr. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Cancino?
Yes.
Mr. Girton?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Sekou? Mr. Vita?
Yes.
President Miller?
Yes.
On roll call, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And now we're on to personnel, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items 6 through 14. 6 being district substitutes. 7 being staff resignations. 8 being staff appointments. 9 being additional middle school extracurricular coach for 2016-2017. Yes.
Number 9, it says to approve the following high schools.
Correct. Thank you. Yep. So noted.
What was that?
This is intramural? This is intramural, right?
Yes.
Not interscholastic, right?
It's middle school soccer.
But it's intramural.
No,
It's
it's,
interscholastic?
yes.
Mr. President, what was the original question?
The comment was, just making a correction to approve the following middle school, not high school, extracurricular coach for the 2016-2017 school year. Good proofreading, Mr. Ballard. Then number 10, additional sections. Number 11, additional duty periods, 2016-2017. Number 12 would be Title I coordinator. Number 13 is a change of assignment. 14 is student helpers. Do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Burton. Second? Mr. Harms, are there any questions or comments?
On the district substitutes, this is some further information.
Mr. Ballard, could you speak into the microphone a little bit, please?
Number 6, district substitutes.
Yes.
This is familiar names from last year also. Are, everybody is required to refile, to reapply every year? Or do we just go and say, are you still interested for the next school year? What do we do on this?
They are contacted and asked to respond in writing if they are interested in being a substitute again for the new school year.
Well, what about background checks? Do we do another background check for the next school year?
Yes, yes.
So we,
They have to be certified by the county office, which includes.
on an annual
background
basis?
checks. Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
And we clarify, we don't pay the background on substitutes.
No, they pay for the fee themselves.
And I just want to wish Ms. Petrozelli and Mrs. Resnick well in their future endeavors as they resign. And also we wish Ms. Ayala, Ms. Alba, and Ms. Shoji Jaworski, and Ms. Alvarez. We welcome them to the district. Anyone else? Oh, okay. Roll call, please, Madam Secretary. Ready for roll call, please, Madam
Yes,
Secretary?
sorry. Vice President Harms?
Yes.
Mr. Balaban?
Yes.
Mr. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Cancino?
Yes.
Mr. Gerton?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Sekou? Mr. Vita?
Yes.
President Miller?
Yes.
On roll call, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And now we're on to education, where there are two items that I need to want to make a motion to approve. The first one is number 15, 2016-2017 education program. And also 16, the stipulation of settlement. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Cancino, second. Second, Mr. Nelson. Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. President, in regards to number 16, I know a member of the public inquired about that. If it was in my board packet, I may have missed it. I will be abstaining, as I'm not sure what the stipulations of the settlement are.
Yes, so noted, Mr. Gordon, as it was discussed in the first executive session. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed?
Yeah, I'm gonna oppose number 16.
Number 16, so noted, Mr. Balaban. And the majority of those items are passed. And now we're on to business, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items 17 through 22. 17 being use of buildings and grounds, 18 being approval of bills, 19 being approval of minutes, 20, district contract, 21, secretary treasurer report, 22, grant acceptance. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I would like to abstain from number 19 because I was not able to attend that meeting.
So noted, Mr. Cancino, thank you.
Mr. President, same for me, I was not at the July 26th, it was been more close session.
So noted, Mr. Burton, thank
I
you.
will also be abstaining, Mr. President.
Mr. Vito? That's just for me.
Got this. Good advice. So it should be the five that we're here.
I think we're good. We'd be at 5. Do I have a motion?
I'm moving.
It's Mr. Bowman, second.
I'll second.
And Mr. Vita. And I'm abstaining from 17G. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. President, I'll abstain from 17B.
17B. Thank you, Mr. Ballard. So noted. I'm sorry, one more time. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Those items are passed. And now, before we go to continue business, we do have a standalone resolution, which I would like someone to make a motion to approve on roll call. And to read into record, it's resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approves the settlement of agreement between the Board of Education and the Roselle Park Education Association regarding dependent health benefit coverage. Do I have a motion? Mr. Arms? Second. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Ballard.
Well, I'm just happy that it reached an amicable conclusion and actually quicker than I thought. That's all.
And I
I'm
will,
abstaining,
I'm sorry, Mr. Arms?
understand what the settlement is. I wasn't in.
Okay, yes, it was discussed in executive session. Thank you, Mr. Burton. I'm sorry, Mr. Curtin?
I would just request that if we're gonna settle with our labor unions, that maybe these things can go through committee too. Beforehand, there is a personnel committee, just an email to let us know what's going on before it's brought to the board. Again, I request that if you're gonna have committees of the board, you use them.
So noted, Mr. Curtin. Thank you.
And this is, please note, this is the second request of this type in the last month.
Mr. Gardner, let me back up. At the last close, we discussed this. And we gave the okay for the attorney to proceed with,
But we haven't heard anything since then. That's what we- Until we showed up tonight. And I got tied up at work, so here we sit.
no problem. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying. I thought it was. Okay.
A little communication back and forth with my chair.
Thank you, Mr. Curtin. So noted. Roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Vice President Harms,
Yes.
Mr. Balaban,
Yes.
Mr. Bowman,
Yes.
Mr. Cancino,
Yes.
Mr. Gerton,
Just don't say.
so noted. Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Sekou, Mr. Vita,
Yes.
President Miller.
Yes.
On roll call, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
I have a question for the attorney on this ordinance now. The board members who are exempted because they're conflicted, they might be members of a neighboring NGA affiliate or whatever, they have a right to vote on this measure? I'm just thinking about that out loud. I just thought about that. Is there any potential, because they're not privy to negotiations, and this was originally possibly a negotiated item. I'm just thinking about, I don't want to get.
No, it's a good question. I'm going to say yes because the matter is resolved with respect to the full package of the details. So we're just voting with respect to the.
So it's post-negotiation.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, now we're on to continuing business. Is there any continuing business?
Mr. Miller, at the last meeting, I brought up the issue of the sites for future board meetings. I know Ms. Groschio, the board secretary, has to put a calendar together, and we just need to know whether we are going to remain in one location, the high school, or we're going to continue to visit the different buildings. I know there was a concern about the accessibility to the buildings, so we need to discuss this.
Well, the ADA issues at Robert Board, but here you have the ventilation issue. So you want to have comfortable board members, but you also want to have comfort for the audience. So maybe alternate, from school to school.
I thought we discussed at at Robert, we wouldn't have it at Robert Gordon because it's inaccessible for a lot of people. That we would invite the Robert Gordon students to come across to the middle school. But again, we would have, as we've done in the past, go to the different schools. The only difference would be that we would go to the middle school during the summer months of July and August. Does everybody remember that?
Yes. Yes, so board members, the proposal out there is to continue the rotation of the schools that we do, except for when we go to Gordon, because of the accessibility issues there, we will ask them to come over to the middle school, which is very close by, and to have those meetings there. And then in the summer months, when it is extremely hot out there, we will go July and August, correct, Charms said, July and August, we will go to the middle school where there's air conditioning. Is the board, is everyone on board? Does everyone agree with that? Okay, thank you, Mr. Greer. Anything else?
I just wanted to ask about
For new business, Mr. Bennett?
no, continue, the payment for the school lunches, breakfasts, etc. How are we on that? I haven't heard for like months now. If there are any payment in arrears, how is that situation over the past year?
We've had a 2-3 months ago, we had a full report on it with, matter of fact, it was in here. And we showed it on the screen about everything, how it all worked and all that stuff.
What I'm saying is, for the new school year, do we have anything set up other than that to ensure that
We know the process now, we understand the process, and I think the process was working. But, and some personnel were taken, we did make a change there in some of the personnel, so.
all right.
Thank you, Mr. Broadbent. And now we're on to the second public participation portion of the evening tonight. If you'd like to speak on any issue, please come forward, state your name, address, and you'll have 3 minutes to make your statement.
Jacob Noguera, 6 Low Chevrolet, Woodson Park. A question to Mr. Harms. Hello, Mr. Miller.
I'm listening.
I'm director. I'm asking to go to Mr.
That's fine, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason.
I didn't hear you too well because this system is much to be desired. Did you mention the cost for removing the poles?
Yes, I did. Roughly around $30,000, Jay.
For each one?
No, total. It was they told taking off 24 down, roughly around $38,000.
For the 24?
For the remaining 24, it'll probably run around $38,000. I'm roughly. Could be a little less, could be a little bit more.
Okay. That sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Majara.
Joe Signorello, 625 Willingham, Rosa Park. Thank you so much for the report. I think if Saul does his good work and gets it out to the folks in Rosa Park, you have a lot of people listening about the lights tonight. I don't know how much was talked about this and so forth, but you did a good job tonight, and I want to kind of don't beat it anymore. I do one more.
One more shot.
Listen, if it's a couple minutes of saving some money, if you have a quote on rental lights, fine, that's fine. But I can talk to Scotia tomorrow. I deal with 2 vendors. Maybe you can, as my father-in-law would say, sharpen a pencil. If it's not too late, forget it, I won't make the call.
I mentioned that to Mr. Foy already, to reach out to Ms. Gershio to get the information from you, because I know you last time you mentioned I already done that.
I'd rather not say, but they give me some good prices.
We've got three quotes.
So what you're asking for, I will call tomorrow.
If you would reach out to Mr. Foy, we would greatly appreciate that.
I will call
Give
Mrs.
the-
Porter tomorrow and ask her.
And give the names and phone
Yeah.
numbers. and
What's the specs you're looking for? How many? And
He'll let you know.
We need 14 altogether.
okay.
14 lights altogether.
We
I don't mind
appreciate
doing
that.
some
Thank you.
legwork. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This all appears in 150 Berwin Street. Just for the matter of protocol, Mr. Sanjara did give notice as to his absence.
Correct.
Thank you very much. So just to confirm, the location changes will stay the same, except wherever it says Robert Gordon, it should be replaced with middle school.
Correct.
Agenda item 23, the standalone. Is that an addendum or an amendment, I guess, to the contract, to the settlement? Is it something separate?
No, it's something separate. The association filed a grievance regarding dependent coverage. The board and the association were able to settle that matter, and so it's just a settlement agreement with respect to that particular piece.
Is that for, without getting too specific, is that for all members, or is it just not? Because I don't want to get to specifics.
Yeah, I can't answer that question.
That's overruled, correct?
The agreement is, well.
The settlement
The
is.
settlement is, with respect to, redactions.
Thank you very much. At the last meeting, agenda item 17, there was a question by Mr. Curtin regarding middle school volleyball issue. Was that resolved? Was it a typographical error? That was addressed here.
That is tonight's number 9.
Gotcha. But just to make sure that 17 was voted on at the last meeting, correct? It was not held off.
It was held up.
I believe it was held off, so I don't believe you agreed on any of these things.
No,
Or just that one.
just that one
Thank you.
for volleyball.
And also at that last meeting, I think there wasn't enough for a vote, I believe, for minutes. And that was also, just putting it, to make it perfectly clear. Just for matter of protocol, page 4, the last person listed, if you turn the page, there's no, all the others have, I guess, their credentials and/or schooling. Just to name it, that person does not have, if you turn the page, unless I'm listed. Maybe? Could I? That might be it. Right, thank you very much. And that's it.
Thank you.
Evening, Karen Donnelly, 345 East Lincoln Avenue. I just have a few things I'd like to address. Number one, I'd just like to ask, what is the possibility of having the rental lights in place for next Tuesday's marching band rehearsal in the evening?
They'll be in by the end of this week, I'm hoping.
The rental lights will be in by the end of the week?
Yes.
Okay. Also, has there been any decision on district chorus this year?
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. And you'll be coming with that. I've started some discussions, and as soon as we get someone in place, we will certainly announce it. Okay?
Because this has been going on since December.
I know. Don't forget, we had the transition between the stream, who was obviously doing it for many years, and we have some new people in place, so it does require some planning.
Has there also been any hire for the high school musical director?
I believe the job was posted and the high school principal will be interviewing, and when a decision is made, the name will be sent to the board for board approval.
My last question is, I hear a rumor that there'll be no more switching for mathematics for grades 3, 4, and 5. Is that correct?
Well, I know that will be discussed during the back-to-school nights with the principals. So if you can just wait to that, they'll have a full report on any changes.
Is that like as an option and we have a choice, or is that just you're going to be telling us what is or is not?
Well, that's obviously curriculum drives just about every decision that we make, because we want to make sure that it's, for example, block scheduling happen because of our curriculum and things such as that. So we certainly, you'll hear more. There will be a rationale definitely with back-to-school nights from the principals. Each elementary principal will certainly address that.
And the rationale will be explaining why they are not switching?
Yes. Or switching or not. Okay? There will be a rationale for any decision made. Absolutely.
Well, what is the decision?
Well, right now, the decision is that they're not going to be switching. So we will discuss it further, and the principals will certainly...
Because I've addressed our principal and I have gotten no response.
Okay.
So that's why I'm here.
You will certainly get a response
By whom?
by the principal.
At back-to-school nights?
Yes.
Okay, so we couldn't...
We don't really, at back to school nights, we don't really ask specific questions. We're not allowed. I mean, it's basically a quick introduction and we're sent off.
There's a presentation on any changes. If you have any concerns, you can call the principal individually, and they certainly will talk to you about any changes.
I've tried that, Mr. Kamara. That's why I'm here.
Okay.
So can you explain to me why we're not switching from that? That's basically why I'm here.
Well, I'd rather it comes from the principals and the curriculum, but we'll certainly give you an answer. Okay? It has to do with the curriculum.
So Mr. Miller and Mr. Guerrero, if I may, for the member of the public, last year I recall some children came to the board. I apologize, I don't recall what
Sherman School.
age group
Sherman School.
they were. Sherman School.
Fourth graders?
Fourth graders. Was it at that time only that grade that wasn't switching mathematics?
It was just the 5th grade, and it was not that they were no longer switching for science and social studies. They were still switching for math at that point. It was then told on our level at Sherman that although they were not switching, that we would still switch for special experiments or special, classroom items. Maybe once a month when they're doing a special lesson, that they would then switch. That never happened. I then addressed that with our administration in February, saying, hey, halfway through the year, our kids came to you, and this was our nice compromise, and they felt like, hey, listen, you know what? Even though the voices were heard that there was a compromise in place, never happened. Now I'm hearing through the grapevine that we're not switching for math. That concerns me. I'm not really getting a direct answer from you, Mr. Garrido. That concerns me as well.
Well, Ms. Connolly, I'd rather that it comes from the principal. However, we look at data very carefully, and we see data, and we look to see where any gaps are and where we can gain any time or any more time to make sure that we address some of the issues that come out right from the data, because that's what drives instruction, as you may know or not. So we certainly look at ways that we can maximize time. All of our teachers are certainly very equipped and certified to teach any subject at the elementary level. We've had plenty of training in professional development in all areas. The curriculum pretty much drives also how much time we need to spend, and the state also requires us to make sure that we provide the children with the times that they, whether it's math, language arts, or whatever it is. But what I'll do is I'm going to speak to the principals, and I want to make sure that they send information home on any rationale for that. So it's clear, and if you have any questions, you can certainly call the principals.
Okay, on behalf of the public, is this going to be all elementary schools? Because if I remember last year, Sherman School was not doing it, and still other...
It was for all the schools.
It's all the schools.
It was, I think there was at one point that we had some that were still doing it.
No, it was district-wide.
And my particular concern with mathematics is that mathematics was broken down into a high, middle, and low level of math. So those kids that were super excelled and exceeding really soared and were pushed to the maximum ability. Those students that were struggling were then placed in a lower level math class and were given the instruction they needed. So, you know what, when switching for science and social studies, that wasn't the case. So I said, you know what, okay, I can understand that. I can't understand the not switching for the mathematics. That's where I'm having an issue. Because now what will happen in the classroom for those kids that are soaring and then those kids that are struggling? Can you explain that?
Yes. I'm sorry, Mr. Donovan.
I just wanted to say, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we have actually sent teachers out for professional development on best practices. We have what we call differentiated instruction. They have been trained to have classes and make sure that they teach in small group setting, so they can have that same impact within the class rather than switching.
There's only one of them though, Mr.
I'm sorry?
There's only one teacher in that class.
They can certainly differentiate. We have more inclusion now in both basic skills, ESL, as well as special education. So in most classes we do have more than just one teacher. But certainly, the education And the way we educate children is certainly changing. And the state, it's given us a lot of these different best practices to go out and have the teachers train. Separating students by their level, it's really not a good practice. It really is not. What you're doing is you're holding students back. They learn better when they are with their peers, so students get pulled. And actually, research has shown that the high-level students benefit from having different levels of abilities in students. What I would ask you is that you give it an opportunity. We will show you the data to make sure that it's working. And if it's not, we will certainly move in another direction. But now what we're doing is we are moving the district forward with what the state is telling us is best practice.
And who decides this? Does the board have to vote on this particular item?
No, this is a curriculum.
This is just curriculum, so the board members didn't have any part of this?
Did it go through the committee at all, Mr. President, Mr. Guerrero?
Well, I know that.
Because it should, right? We're modifying curriculum. It should.
Well, we're not modifying curriculum. We're modifying schedules, and schedules is an administrative decision.
So
it's driven by the curriculum, but it's modifying the schedule that we and the way we schedule our students.
So it didn't go through the committee?
It's an administrative decision.
Is this driven by Clark testing and the whole state?
It is driven by multiple measures, by multiple data.
But if this worked in the past, why are we changing now?
Did it work in the
It has
past?
very well worked. It has
That's what I'm
very much
saying.
worked.
What I'm hearing from Ms. Donnelly is that this has worked continuously.
Have you looked at the data, Mr. Baldwin? I've been more than happy to share the data with you.
But that's the other thing, we need better communication.
Yeah.
Here you have a
I'll be more than happy. Well, as I said, the principal certainly, I'll make sure we'll get that out to you. We'll get that out to you. Absolutely.
Communication.
We'll get that out to you. Absolutely.
My other question is, Nicole Alvarez, the new Sherman Elementary School teacher, what are her credentials, please?
She's a highly qualified teacher. If not, she wouldn't be able. The state would not allow her to be in the district.
She's certified K?
She certainly is
A certified teacher. She's not just a certified substitute?
No, she's a highly qualified teacher. She's fully certified.
Does she have a specialty in anything?
I don't have that information from me.
Okay. Okay, thank you, that's all.
And Ms. Donnelly, just real quick, I'm concerning the switching. Just from, I'm a third grade teacher, as you know, and we switched last year in my school where I teach, and this year we're not switching. And I'm actually very happy about that, because when we did do the switching, we lost about probably 8 to 10 minutes in transitional time, and time is of the essence because we didn't have that much time. But just from my point of view, and I just from another perspective, it's just like now that I have my class, yes, there are different abilities. Well, it's on me to differentiate. It's on me to structure and scaffold those lessons. And that's the professional development that, and that's what our teachers can do and should be able to do for our children as well.
I understand. This was just a great program, and I'm sorry that it's no longer. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Donnelly.
One minor item about the meetings, the upcoming meetings. I know that the location we just decided, but is the schedule of meetings for the rest of the academic year decided already?
Yes, until December.
For the rest of the calendar year, not the rest of the academic year?
Yes, the calendar year. In January, during the reorganization meeting, after when the new board members or the elected board members are appointed, that's when we'll pass the meeting dates.
Okay, so it goes by board year, not by academic year.
Correct.
Okay.
Calendar year.
So will the schedule be put up on the website soon? Because as of now, we have the only meeting listed is days.
Sure, absolutely.
That's entirely. And with regard to the policy of switching, I'm also a math teacher, and you mentioned that there's lots of data which supports the practice of not switching and differentiated instructions given the class. Would it be appropriate to have a future Board of Ed meeting or presentation about the advantages and disadvantages of switching versus not switching?
And that's a great idea. And I think, to answer Mrs. Donnelly as well, I think that's the communication. I absolutely will ask Mr. Salvo, our Director of Curriculum, to make a presentation on the switching and the pros of that.
That sounds like a much more reasonable venue to comment than a back to school night. I know it's back to school nights,
Absolutely.
things are
Yeah.
very tightly scheduled.
But the presentation is made at back to school night, but you're absolutely right. There's no opportunity for question and answer at that particular event, so you're absolutely right. Thank you.
Seeing there's no one else, we'll close the second public participation portion of the evening tonight. And before we make a motion to go into executive session, I just wanted to say this is a very exciting time of year for many of us, for our staff coming back refreshed from summer vacation, getting their classrooms ready, and I understand that. And also for our parents who are anxious and waiting for their children, whether they're going to middle school for the first time, or they're high school for the first time, or kindergarten for the first time. And also for our children as well. And I just want to wish our staff good luck, and we believe in you, and you do a great job in educating our children. And for our parents, rest assured that your children are in good hands. And it's just a wonderful time of year, and I wish everyone well in this beginning, and we're off to a great start, and I wish a great year for everyone, so thank you. And now I'd like someone to make a motion to go into closed.
So moved.
Mr. Balaban? Second, and those reasons are for attorney-client privilege on 403 Westfield Avenue, and also for real property. That was number 3, and number 4 for personnel employee matter. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are in closed. And if there's, we'll probably be close for approximately an hour. And if it goes longer than that, I'll come out and notify you. But if you happen to leave and go into this evening, our next meeting will be September 20th